Welcome to another edition of Mean Streets, powered by FTN, right here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney here with you. Thanks as always for taking the time to hang out here on this Wednesday, a jam-packed show. We're going to talk, of course, the NL wildcard game between the Cardinals and the Dodgers. We're going to do a little bit of a recap from yesterday. The Red Sox took care of the Yankees, and they're off to play the Tampa Bay Rays. We have some fantasy hockey targets towards the end of the show. And of course, as we do every single Wednesday on this show, we will take a look at roster trends, see the most added and dropped players, just to see which players, again, this week will be inside the top 10 dropped. And next week, we'll be talking about them inside the top 10 added. It happens every week. Producer Tino is going to join me. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a few buy low, sell highs, some trade targets, some players maybe to hold, some players to buy in dynasty leagues. A lot to talk about in this show. It is a multi-sport show, and we're getting there. October is awesome, right? Like it really is. You got some golf happening. You got baseball playoffs, NHL. The puck drops on the 12th of October. And then NBA heating up here as well. And of course, we are into week 5 of the NFL season, which kicks off tomorrow. We got the Rams playing against the Seahawks. Okay, so before we get into last night, a couple things I wanted to take care of off the top of the show. By the way, Broc Miller is going to join us to talk about the Dodgers and the Cardinals. And we're going to dive into everything. It's really hard to back the Dodgers here. They're heavy favorites, and I don't know, like we'll get into all of it, but we have a few props that we'll talk about. We'll talk about some strikeout props. We'll try to, double down on the home runs. Yesterday, we got Kyle Schwarber. I believe all three of us, Tino, myself, and Big John, who came in here pretty sad yesterday to talk about his Yankees losing. And he was dead on. Like he was correct. Garrett Cole got roughed up. More on that in just a little bit. But first, off the top here, the NHL package. The draft kit is live. We got busts, we got sleepers, we got breakouts. Actually, today, just live, I posted 32 sleepers, one from every team. That's right, we got the Kraken now, a part of the NHL. The Seattle Kraken. Unleash the Kraken. Let's go. Or release it. Whatever. They need to have that as their slogan. 32 sleepers, 32 breakouts, 32 busts, and a stud from each team. But you got rookies, goalies to target, breakout players, players to avoid. The rankings are there. Division previews, DFS how-to 101. There's only a couple of these packages left. $79.99 for the first 50, and that's it. The price is going to go up. This is what I'm told. The price is going to go up. So if you are thinking about being part of the FTN fam, looking to play a little bit of daily, or if you just want the DraftKings package, please reach out at Chris Meaney. Heck, let's give a couple away. Let's do it. If you're watching the show here on Game Plus, and you do listen to podcasts, whether it's on Apple, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to your podcast, show me that you have subscribed to Mean Streets, and then send me a DM at Chris Meaney. If you don't have Twitter, all good. Send an email to meanstreetsftn@gmail.com. Just show me that you've subscribed to this show. Give it a thumbs up, review. Appreciate the reviews. It'll help this show grow. So we really would appreciate that. So if you are a hockey fan and you're looking to be part of the FTN fam, like I said, just show me that you've subscribed and we'll take care of you. We'll put names in a draw and we'll hook you up. And if it is just the NHL package that you want, the season-long package, which, by the way, will come with in-season rankings, updated every week. You got the show twice a week with myself and Eric Young. And also we'll have waiver wire stuff. Like we'll take care of you throughout the season. If you just want that season-long draft kit package, you got some drafts happening this weekend, hit me up at Chris Meaney or let me know that in the email, meanstreetsftn@gmail.com. So I want to give a couple packages away. If you're watching here in the YouTube section, leave a question. You got a question at all time, anytime. We'll address the questions throughout the show. And if you don't listen on the podcast, like if you don't listen to Apple, iTunes, whatever it is, and you're just watching on the YouTube page, just show me that you subscribe to FTN. I'm trying to give away some packages here. It's pretty simple. Just subscribe, smash that like button. We appreciate the support here over at FTN. Also, one more thing to take care of as well is the NFL betting package. So the NFL betting package it's going to change like October 12th. Like as of right now, if you want NFL bets, it's $199.99 for the season. It's going to get you tools. It's going to get the Sunday morning betting show with myself, Elliot Chris, and Matthew Freeman. You're going to get all the content, multiple articles, bets across the board from absolutely everybody. But the price goes up to $399. It's like double here after October 12th. But also something to keep in mind, when it doubles up to $399, you're going to get absolutely every sport across the board. You got hockey coming up here. You got NBA, all the sports I just talked about earlier on the top of the show. You're going to get everything, including tennis. Like we got Josh Gross, like well over 100 units won in tennis. I don't know how the heck he does it, but all the college sports, it's all there for you in one package. But if you are looking just for NFL, jump on it right now because that price will double up after October 12th. Okay, 5 minutes in. Let's talk about last night quickly. And I will get Tino's thoughts a little bit later on from what we saw last night. So the Red Sox win. They take care of the Yankees. Just getting that under 6-2. We got the under. We talked about the 8.5. We hit a lot yesterday. We had Boston in the under. We had Kyle Schwarber plus 490 over at PointsBet. That was in the bet tracker. We talked about it on this show as well. Schwarber, I mean, he took him deep. His very first postseason home run, took Garrett Cole deep, that is, when he was a member of the Cubs and Cole was a member of the Pirates, and he took him deep yesterday as well. Garrett Cole only lasted 2 innings. Are you kidding me? $36 million per year. That's not what the Yankees signed up for in a must-win game for him to get yanked. And we talked about his numbers heading into this start at Fenway. It was 3 completed starts. Well, I say completed, but it was 3 starts. And, add on the 4th, another 2 innings to his resume at Fenway this season. Not great. Not great, Bob, as the kids say. 18 innings, 23 hits, 14 earned runs, 7 bombs, 23 strikeouts, and 9 walks. So pretty surprising that he only lasted 2 innings. But if you're the Yankees in a must-win situation, you've seen enough, right? You got to go to the bullpen and make that switch. And they did. I thought the turning point was not Xander's 2-run shot or Schwarber's home run. It was the play where they waved around Judge, when Stanton, I mean, he almost went yard twice. I think everybody in the building, it was, not just everybody in the building. A lot of the broadcasters thought that ball was gone off the wall. I mean, giveth and taketh. That's what Fenway does to you. But Stanton, another long, that was the longest single in maybe the history of wildcard playing games. But then he had another one off the top of the wall where they would have had runners on second and third with Joey Gallo up. And I understand maybe the thinking of the third base coach is that, oh man, Joey Gallo is not great here. Let's see if we can wave in Judge and we can get him in. But man, you would have had runners on second and third with 1 out to have Joey Gallo up there to maybe get a pop fly, a sac fly, and then cash in that run. It was crazy that they waved him around. I thought that was a turning point. I think, I see a lot of people just taking shots at Judge here last night and today. What is Judge supposed to do? He's supposed to trust his third base coach. He's rounding second. He's rounding third. He's not taking a look behind him to see where that ball is. He's trusting his third base coach, who was halfway down the line from third to home, and he waved him through. And it wasn't even close. It wasn't a close play at the plate. That was the turning point. So the Red Sox move on to face Tampa. Today we have St. Louis and the Dodgers. If you're backing either side, I say this every time, but the free prop shop and parlay calculator get the best possible odds. That's how we got plus 490 for Schwarber yesterday using the prop shop. And I'm seeing plus 200 if you want to back the Cardinals, minus 217 for the Dodgers, a total here at 7.5. San Fran awaiting the winner. We got Scherzer with a 15-4 record and 2.46 ERA. Adam Wainwright, the 40-year-old, has been rock solid all year long, 17-7 and a 3.05 ERA. Scherzer in 11 starts with the Dodgers this season, a 1.98 ERA, 0.82 whip, 89 strikeouts, and 8 walks. He's been awesome. Both teams have been really good over the past month and a half. Since August 1st, the Dodgers are 43-13. They tied their franchise record, 106 wins, yet they have to play in this wild card game. And you bet you, if they lose, MLB will be changing the rules next season. And the Cardinals had a 17-game winning streak, tied a franchise. Actually, that was a franchise record from September 11th to the 28th. I will not be backing the Dodgers here today. Maybe Broc Miller can talk me into backing the Dodgers, maybe taking them on the run line, maybe taking the Cardinals on the run line and the under, but there's no chance. There's no way I'm laying that kind of juice with the Dodgers. And if there's a team that's going to get it done, it's this scrappy Cardinals team who everybody underrates all the time. A lot of experience on the squad. Wainwright is an absolute vet. He's not a big strikeout guy. He pitches to contact, but he places his pitches perfectly. I think this will be a very, very entertaining game. The Dodgers took the season series 4-3. They took 2 of 3 and outscored them by 15 runs earlier in the year, but this is a much different Cardinals team over the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season. I'm really excited to break it all down with Brock and producer Tino. Quickly, rapid fire through some NFL news notes here. Pats released Defensive Player of the Year from 2019, Stephon Gilmore, a bit of a surprise. He had 1 year left on his 5-year deal. you know, Brady's calling him up, right? Like, are we going to be shocked if this guy's a buck here tomorrow? I wouldn't be shocked. He's eligible to return after week 6. He's on the PUP list right now. Anthony Miller released by the Texans. Dude, if you can't make it there, I don't know where you make it, but I'm certainly rooting for you. Jalen Smith, linebacker for Dallas, straight up released as well. He led the Cowboys in tackles last season. He's free to sign anywhere else. Some coach speak here. Sean McVay says he would like to get Robert Woods more involved. Prove it. Chris Carson, neck injury, did not practice yesterday. He's questionable to play Thursday Night Football. Alex Collins, we'll talk about him more in a bit. And Josh Gordon promoted to the practice squad, and he's going to make his debut this Sunday night against the Buffalo Bills. And Big Ben has, quote-unquote, hip issues. I think he's got a lot of issues, but he's got hip issues right now, and that Steelers offense is not looking good. All right, we'll take a break. We'll bring in producer Tino. We'll talk about the most added and drop players in fantasy football. We'll also talk about a few buy lows and sell highs to help you out heading into week 5 of the NFL season. Don't go anywhere. Mean Streets continues right here on Game Plus Network. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney here with Tino Rodriguez, producer Tino here with you. We are going to talk about the most added and drop players in just a little bit. We'll roll through some buy lows and some sell highs. Dude, quick initial thoughts on last night. Yankees, Garrett Cole, toast, done. See you later, dude. That's not what we signed up for, but have a good offseason.
I just better never hear a conversation about if Garrett Cole is on the same level as Jacob deGrom. That's what my takeaway is from there. Also, listen to this show. I mean, Big John, as sad as he was, hit the outing spot on. We had our home run calls pretty spot on as well. So, I mean, we kind of painted a picture for the game. I was optimistic. I mean, look, in reality, I was on Yanks at the over there. I mean, Stan could have had 3 home runs. The monster robbed him of 2. Those are the longest singles in the history of baseball. You made the comment. So it's like, you know, we weren't that far off on the Yankee side, but, you know, other than the top part of their lineup, 1 through 3, they had nothing. So, yeah, brutal for the Yanks. Brutal.
Yeah, brutal for the Yanks. I think Tampa takes Boston, but tomorrow we'll talk about everything once it's all set, and we'll talk about odds, series odds. We'll dive into all of that stuff tomorrow because we do have the afternoon game, I think 4:07 Eastern between the White Sox and the Astros. Our White Sox. A little sneak preview of the Chicago White Sox. Okay, before we get to the most added and drop players here, we do have a couple questions. And again, if you have any throughout the show, please reach out. If you're just watching the show on replay, leave it there in the YouTube section, and we'll circle back. I always tend to circle back and try to help out people here. So Michael Chapp says, hey, brother, I have Allen and Herbert right now. I might look to trade both of them because I don't like their schedule. Would you do Herbert for Hurts and then Allen for another top wide receiver like DJ Moore, maybe. Rangers little logo there. Nice. Check out the draft kit, dude. So I don't know if this is a single quarterback league or like a super flex. I would love to know that kind of context. Like if it's a super flex league, I think you roll with those two quarterbacks. You got two top 10 quarterbacks and it's fine. I think if you're in a single quarterback league, you definitely have to trade one of these guys. You can't just roll. It's just a waste, right? You're always going to want to start Allen. You're always going to want to start Herbert. You're going to try to get too cute with either guy in these matchups, but they're both matchup proof in my opinion. So I wouldn't worry too much about the schedule. I actually think the Bills have one of the nicest schedules moving forward. I mean, they're in a really good spot this week against the Chiefs. And I mean, they love to throw the football. Like that's the guy I would take. Everybody just saw Justin Herbert. He's on the rise. I mean, they saw him on Monday Night Football. He had like 3 passing touchdowns. I really like this Chargers squad. I would look to deal whatever you can get, like the most you can get for one or the other. Like I don't think I would trade for another quarterback. That's what makes me think, Tino, that he's in a super flex league, that maybe he has to start 2 quarterbacks if he's thinking to deal Herbert for Hurts. But yeah, I mean, if you could get a top wide receiver like DJ Moore for one of those guys, I would do that.
We got some clarity here. Mike's in the chat. So he said it's Allen as in Keenan Allen. So he has a nice little stack. Okay.
My bad. Right. My bad. All right. Single QB. Got you. Keenan Allen. I mean, I would trade Keenan Allen for DJ Moore if you could do that. It's pretty close. I do like DJ Moore a little bit more. The rest of the way, they're both getting a lot of targets, but DJ Moore is getting more yards. He's more explosive after the catch. He's got a higher ADOT. Keenan Allen's more of that like full point PPR league. Even last week, I think he caught 7 balls for like 36 yards. Like it's not spectacular. Both are studs. They're both studs. Yeah. But do you agree? Do you like DJ slightly more than Keenan?
I like DJ Moore slightly more than Keenan Allen right now, but he has Herbert and Allen. So I think it kind of, depending how you view stacks in season-long leagues is kind of how you sway in this one. Because I don't mind that. If you're a big guy on Herbert, you'd think, even though Mike Williams kind of took off the way he did, I mean, Keenan Allen was getting volume in that Raiders game. He didn't necessarily turn it into yards. He had some drops, very uncharacteristic of him. Touchdowns aren't there, but he had like 7-8 receptions for like 40 yards. So if he can turn that into, some more yardage and maybe even a touchdown or 2, we're getting vintage Keenan Allen there. So his volume's still there. Him and DJ Moore are a lot of the same. So I don't mind him for more. I just wouldn't get too crazy and try to, trade Herbert for Hurts just based on schedules. Yeah, the Eagles are going to be down and Hurts will get the rushing yards. And, in terms of fantasy, that's great. But right now, I'm taking Herbert over Hurts. So it's like, in a non-fantasy capacity, let's just preference it. Even in fantasy, I would take it. I wouldn't mind it. But like in real life, I'm taking Herbert over Hurts. So with that said, I would ride with Herbert. I don't mind that one bit. The Chargers are a good team.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point about the stack, and Michael's asking that too. Should he just keep the stack? And I think, you probably just keep the stack, maximize your upside there. If they both hook up for touchdowns, you're doubling up your points. They go off, you kind of go off as well. I do like Hurts more than him in fantasy, but like you said, I mean, he is a better real life quarterback than Jalen Hurts. But Hurts is just, it seems to be either 300 yards passing or 50 yards rushing. But the schedule does turn for the Eagles. I was just taking a quick look here at the Chargers. I mean, they have Cleveland this week, which is tough. They got at Baltimore week 6, which is tough. And then the bye, but I don't think it's all that tough. Like I think that Baltimore matchup, I think Herbert will be just fine. New England is a team that you can pass on. The Eagles is a good spot. Minnesota's a great spot. The Steelers aren't as good as what we thought. In Denver, week 12 is a tough one. But then you got the Bengals week 13. You got the Giants week 14, KC week 15. So you got to remember playoffs now 15, 16, and 17. So you got a really good matchup week 15 against the Chiefs, assuming that you get to the playoffs. And then that semifinal matchup at Houston against the Texans. That's prime time. That's as good as it gets for Herbert. So we appreciate the question. Again, if you have any more throughout the show, please leave them there and we'll talk about them. All right. Top 10 added. What do we got here for the top 10 added? Of course, it is Damien Williams. I did get him in that league, Tino, that I talked about yesterday.
Nice.
Last night, I had a bid at like $41, and then I was like, oh, man, it was like 2 a.m. I should be sleeping. I'm like, I gotta increase it. I have to increase it. I increased it to 51. Luckily, I got him because the runner-up was 46, and now I'm making him available to everybody in the league, and I think you should as well. If you got Damien Williams, why not? His like stock may not be as high as what it is right now, so go ahead and check. see those needy RB teams, see if you can get him right now before he suits up. Dalton Schultz, who's been a touchdown machine over the last 2 weeks. Samaje Perine, we talked about him. It sounds like Joe Mixon is just day-to-day, not week-to-week, but a guy that you could start this week, at least as a flex guy, if Mixon is sidelined. Dawson Knox, another guy, a touchdown machine. I did rest of the season rankings. They're live at ftnfantasy.com. I got Knox as a top 12 tight end. AJ Green, Latavius Murray, you could feel better about him with Tyson Williams being inactive. So Murray was one of the guys last week, Tino, that was one of the most dropped. Now he's one of the most added. Jamison Crowder, Sam Darnold, Alex Collins. We'll see if he gets the start on Thursday. And then our guy, Hunter Renfrow. I say our, he's probably yours, but I really like Hunter Renfrow as well. What do you make of this list?
We have to talk is what I make of this list, because yesterday I was all on Damien Williams, and I'm like, all right, I got my Montgomery situations handled. And in our FTN Deep Fantasy League, I actually got him and Khalil Herbert, so I feel pretty good about it. Got the Bear situation. Now, in our Dynasty League, I completely forgot I have Chris Carson. Again, do not join more fantasy leagues than you can handle. This is why. And so I go and I'm like, oh, I feel great. Like, I did all my waiver wires ahead of time. I did not miss one. And of course I missed one because I have Carson, and both DJ Dallas and Alex Collins were on that waiver wire. You got Alex Collins, and I was like, dang, like I knew there was something I forgot. So Alex Collins is a guy we didn't talk about yesterday, and I think that's kind of sneaky. I mean, depending if the neck injury with Chris Carson is worse than it is, I mean, he's a thumper. We know it from the Ravens. I know he's a little older at in the backfield, but DJ Dallas is undersized. He's been there forever, probably be more of a pass catcher. But at the same time, they have other pass catching backs they like there. So with no Penny, if Carson's out, I mean, Collins is due for a pretty big workload. I know the Seahawks can't run the ball well, but again, name of the game is to get starting running backs. Collins is sneaky. Collins is really sneaky.
Yeah, he is, dude. His ownership is only 13%. I think he needs to be rostered. Chris Carson has had numerous injuries over the past couple of years, and he's not involved in like the third down role. He was in week 1, but last year he really wasn't either. Like they sprinkle in Travis Homer, and Collins can catch, so he's not playing much third down. He's not really playing 2-minute drill. Got the short week here. He was bothered last week with an injury, and now he's not really practicing. So he doesn't practice today. I mean, I know he's a vet and he doesn't really need to, but I suppose like, if he doesn't practice tomorrow, like that is certainly concerning. But yeah, Alex Collins, especially if you're a Chris Carson owner, this guy needs to be rostered. Some other ones, like you mentioned Khalil Herbert yesterday, he could fall into a bigger role here if Montgomery misses 5 or 6 weeks. Like Damian Harris is or Damian Williams, as much as this guy is like the most added and we'd like him moving forward as a potential bell cow. If you look at his NFL resume, he doesn't have like a lot of carries. Like he doesn't have a full season where he's like got 200 plus carries. Like, he's just not that type of back. So I don't know if he can handle, 5 or 6 weeks in a row of 20 plus touches like that. It may not happen. And he's not 100% right now. So Herbert in a deeper league, other guys here like Max Williams, if you're playing in deep tight end leagues, just to have a piece of that Cardinals offense. Randall Cobb could get more targets here moving forward. Robert Tonyan is like not really getting a whole lot, and MVS is on IR. And then Van Jefferson. I really like Van Jefferson. He's not in the top 10 here. He's somebody that I've been talking about quite a bit. He's got back-to-back games with 6 targets, 10 grabs, just over 100 yards, got 2 touchdowns on the season. He's the deep threat guy in this offense. I know McVay says he wants to get Robert Woods involved, but he also said that he wanted Matthew Stafford maybe to spread the ball around a little bit more. So we'll keep an eye on that situation. Let's take a look at the most dropped here. What do you got for us? Most dropped, Tyson Williams. So I get this one. Last week we talked about concerns. We said maybe don't drop him. It's nice to have running back depth, but the fact that he was inactive and Bell was active and Latavius got 18 plus carries and he's the vet, I think Williams is in the doghouse. Peyton Barber, I understand that one. Michelle, I get it. Very discouraging week for Michelle last week. Darrell Henderson came back and got a bulk of the touches, but he's still a nice bench guy to have if you're in a deeper league. If Henderson doesn't have the cleanest track record in terms of health, so if anything happened to him, we've already seen Michelle could step up and be a guy that could touch the ball 15, 17 times in a really good offense. Robert Tonyan, I'm actually fine with that one. Will Fuller, I get it. Gaskin is another guy. Miami's a complete mess. This week it could be Gaskin. The past week it was Malcolm Brown. That's just a crapshoot in Miami. I understand that one. Rondale Moore, the second time we've seen Rondale Moore on the top 10 dropped. And I bet you, dude, we will see him again inside the top 10 added, as we have already seen him once. Logan Thomas, this one pains me, but it does sound like he's week to week with a hamstring injury. Oh, man, he was the only player that had played 100% of his team snaps heading into last week. Maybe that was it. Maybe they needed to give him a little bit of a break. Tim Patrick and then Brendan Ayuk, Who on this list are you not dropping?
Yeah, I'm looking at this list, and you hinted at it. Which of these guys are about to be a top 10 fantasy player this week? Because that's pretty much what's happening. Whoever overreacts and drops people, on our top 10 lists, end up going off the next week. I think you got to look at the back end there. I think he said it. Could be Gaskin's week very easily this week. He's a pass catching back. I don't love Myles Gaskin, but again, if you're going to get him on the wire for free, especially when you think about where people were taking him, it's worth a stash. That's all I'm gonna say.
You know what?
Not worth a start, but worth a stash for sure.
Yeah, you know what it is? I mean, he's got Tampa on the schedule this week. He just had a game with 2 carries, 9 carries, 5 carries, 13-2. I totally get it. I understand why you want to cut ties, an 8-team, a 10-team. I totally understand this. But yeah, if you're in a 12-team, you're in a 14-team, you see him on the waiver wire, I think you grab him. You don't need to spend a lot of fab, but maybe a couple bucks here and there just to have that depth. Who knows? It hasn't looked good in Miami, that's for sure. And it won't look good this week against Tampa. He could fall into a few catches. Like he said, he's a great pass catcher, but the schedule does turn in Miami's favor in some maybe winnable games. I mean, they got Jacksonville, Atlanta, Buffalo will be tough. They got Houston, they got the Jets, Carolina, and the Giants. Like the schedule does turn in their favor just a little bit. Tino, let's take a quick break and we'll talk about some buy lows and some sell highs. And we will talk about another one of your guys, Cordero Patterson. You didn't get a chance to talk him up Monday, so we'll give you the mic, sir. Keep her locked. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. You're watching Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney and Tino Rodriguez, producer Tino here, running the show for us here today. Thanks as always for taking the time to hang out. If you're hanging out with us, you have a question. It's a little early for start and sit, but we'll address it. We'll address any question that you do have. I lied. We'll hold on to Cordero Patterson a little bit. So hold on. We'll talk about him soon, dude. Let's talk about a couple buy low candidates here. And we will start with, I think ALVIN KAMARA is available. I know somebody in my league said, listen, everybody's available, including ALVIN KAMARA. He's off to a 1-3 start. Damien Harris, Josh Jacobs, CeeDee Lamb, and then TJ Hockenson. I got a couple KAMARA statistics here for you, and you just tell me if you're worried or you're concerned with what's happened so far. So through 4 weeks here, he has 10 grabs, which is tied for 26th among running backs. He has 62 receiving yards, which is tied for 35th rather, among running backs, tied with Travis Homer of all people. Up at the top, you got Harris, 26 catches, Swift, 23, Edmonds, 20, Eckler, 18, and your guy, Cordero Patterson, with 18. There's some guys like Kyle Juszczyk has 11 catches, which is more than him. He has 100 receiving yards, which is more than KAMARA. Derrick Henry has more catches and receiving yards than ALVIN KAMARA. Jeremy McNichols has more catches and receiving yards. So last week, KAMARA had 26 carries. He has at least 20 in 2 straight weeks, 20 attempts in 3 of 4 of his games. So 120 yards last week was his 4th game in his career where he's topped 100 yards on the ground. He had 89 and 80. So he's got 3 in the 80s. I was just looking back at KAMARA for his career. So in 2020, he had 1 100-yard game and 6 in the 80s. He had 0 100-yard games in 2019 and 2 in the 80s. He had 1 100-yard game in 2018 and 3 in the 80s. And then as a rookie in 2017, he had 1 100-yard game and 2 in the 80s. So this is rare to see him top the century mark and to have games with 80-plus yards on the ground. He's averaging 74 rushing yards per game, which is the most he's ever had in his career, 62.1 last season. 3.8 yards per pop this year, though, which is a career low, 4.8 for his career and 5 last season. He's had at least 81 catches, Tino, in each of his 4 seasons. He's averaging 2.5 catches per game. He's on pace for 42 and a half. That's half of his total last season. He's averaging 15.4 receiving yards per game this season. He averaged 50.4 last year. So we're seeing a Saints team not throw the football, not target Alvin Kamara, but give him a ton of carries on the ground. Can he handle this over a full course of the season? Because we've yet to see it. Are you concerned that he's not getting targeted and we're losing the value that we loved with Alvin Kamara? Where are you with him? If you had him, are you keeping him because, yeah, he's getting all the touches on the ground, it kind of evens out? Or are you concerned and you'd get out coming off a big game where he had over 100 yards and 26 carries? Where are you at?
I don't really have him, and it's mainly because if you follow all of our lovely FTN content here, we knew kind of coming into this that Jameis Winston does not throw the ball to his running backs. We've seen it in years past with Tampa. He just doesn't do it. He likes to go downfield. So, I don't think I'm more concerned that, like he's not going to get the receptions and targets that people are looking for, but I don't think that means he's not going to be a viable running back. Like you just noted, I'm a Giant fan. I just watched him tear us up. 25 carries. He had 120 yards on the ground, maybe even more. There's nothing wrong with Alvin Kamara. It's just how they're using him. It's not what people signed up for when you took him in the top 5, but that's kind of why people like us, all the sharp minds here at FTN, said to tread lightly, knowing what you're getting. It's kind of like a give and take. So am I concerned? Yes. But do I think he's going to be fine for the rest of the season? Yeah, I think he's going to be a top 10 back. I think he can sustain the ground game, because if you see his workouts in the offseason, the guy like pulls cars. So I don't think, I don't think him running the ball is going to be an issue. I do want to note though, on the buy low list, I do think someone very interesting that will cost you less than, than you would for Alvin Kamara, who got taken, in the top 5, would be Josh Jacobs. I think people are treading lightly because of his injuries, because there's so many mouths to feed. Kenyon Drake was a top ad, top drop. Peyton Barber, top ad, top drop. And then, week in, week out now, when he's kind of day to day and you don't know if he's playing, he ends up playing, and he's the only RB getting any work. If you watch the game against the Chargers on Monday night, 13 carries, 40 yards, but 5 on 5 targets. He was a 3-down back. He was out there when they needed him, when they needed to get points on the board, and that's what you're kind of looking for here. So if anyone's looking to sell Josh Jacobs on the low because of injury concerns, I would try to package some of those lower end, maybe RB2s or something like that, and take a chance, because especially where people got Josh Jacobs, it wasn't high enough that I think his value for what you would have to trade to get him would probably be very affordable and could help a team kind of, elevate their game if you need a running back.
I couldn't agree more. And a lot of people are sour on Jacobs. You hear all the time that he's game script dependent and he's not going to catch a lot of balls. But Peyton Barber had 0 touches and he suffered an injury. And Kenyon Drake was a non-factor. He had more touches in the kick return game than he did on the ground or through the air last week. So he's been a non-factor. Even when Jacobs was sidelined, it wasn't Kenyon Drake getting the carries. It was Peyton Barber. So we already know who the back is going to be if Jacobs goes down again. I totally agree, dude. I think he's a buy low candidate. I think he can be had for cheap. And I love the schedule. Again, talking about game script dependent, Chicago, Denver, Philly, Giants, like those are games that Las Vegas can win. And I think they'll get back to running the rock a little bit more, what they've done before in the past. So absolutely. I like the fact that he got the 5 targets. He caught all 5 of them. And like we said, he could be had for cheap. One guy I will throw out there is Damien Harris too. 10 rushing yards on 10 carries and 5.7 fantasy points over his last 2 weeks. Don't tell me that this guy cannot be had. He's available. He may be even on your waiver wire. He ran the ball 4 times for -4 yards last week. In week 3, he caught 2 passes for -3 yards, 37 total yards on 14 touches over the last 2 weeks. But he played really good run defenses. He played the Saints and he played the Bucs last week. He's got the Texans this week, the Jets, the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Titans all coming up on the schedule. Look at the first 2 weeks when the Pats controlled the game. He had 162 rushing yards on 39 carries. And last week, J.J. Taylor fumbled the rock. Stevenson is not getting in the game. He's not active. And even though he didn't get a ton of targets last week, Harris, he was running routes more than he's ever run before with James White's sideline. So I think this is a solid week for Damien Harris. He's another guy that can be had for cheap. And don't acquire these guys to be rock solid RB2s. If you can get them as a flex, you need some running back depth. You want to trade a wide receiver that's balling out right now. That's where you go. I think that's how you do it. We'll talk about Cordero Patterson. Let's break and let's talk about your boy Patterson. One more fantasy football segment here before we bring in Broc Miller. Keep her locked. You're watching Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney and producer Tino here with you. We were just talking some buy low candidates. Let's talk some sell high candidates. All of this can be found over at ftnfantasy.com for free. I got a lot of players listed, some dynasty buys, players to hold, players to field offers for, and players to sell, like your guy, Cordell Patterson. Oh, man. You didn't get the chance to really talk about him on Monday, so I'll give you the mic here. Zach Moss, James Conner, Tyler Boyd, and Jared Cook. My thing with Jared Cook is, he's going to have highs or lows at the tight end position. If you could flip him, sell him high for like a TJ Hockenson. I doubt you can, but maybe a package deal, you get Pitts or Hockenson. Like, those are two guys that maybe are available. Connor's touchdown dependent. I'd flip him just for the fact that he got those 2 touchdowns. Tyler Boyd has been great over the past couple weeks, but T. Higgins is expected back this week. And then Zach Moss, like, he's balling out, but it's still a committee there in the backfield. Him and Singletary, had the same amount of touches, and Josh Allen likes to throw the ball and call his own number. So Moss is fine. If he's your third RB, you roll him out as a flex. But if you're stacked at running back position, you move on. Cordell Patterson, dude, you just riding this thing out with him?
So the best way I can describe it, and now I've had some time to think about it, is if you've ever seen Old School when Vince Vaughn does the rings and he's just out and he's just like, still holding. He's just holding it. That's going to be me, okay? Because every week I'm like, oh, maybe now's the week we can sell high. Maybe now's the week. And we talked about all these injuries. He's still dual position eligible. So if you have wide receiver issues because of injuries, plug him in at wide receiver. Now I lost David Montgomery. I couldn't get Damian Williams. Well, we'll just bump him down and I'll stream a wide receiver. It's just like the guy's a Swiss Army knife. And really the thing that tied all together, it's that I can't really make sense of, the touchdown dependency is one thing. This last week he exploded and made a lot of opportunity with his limited opportunities. But Mike Davis is still a competent back in fantasy. He's still putting up double-digit points. Like, they're not eating into each other. So, like, there's a world out there where, like, for the remainder of the season, like, the Falcons are not going to change who they are all of a sudden. They're not going to just become a good team. They're going to be down. Matt Ryan's going to throw the ball a ton. They can't really run the ball to begin with. So, if Mike Davis is getting early down usage, which he probably will, not saying he won't get anything in the passing game, but Cordell Patterson will get that third down work. And not only that, if they have them both out there in early down sets, he can just go out and play wide receiver. So if you're getting if you're getting 5 to 6 targets a game at the wide receiver position and he gets a handful of carries, like, that's a flex play. That's not only a flex play, but that's legitimately just for a dual player eligibility. That's someone you want on your team. So I don't know. I'm looking at it. If I could parlay him to get an RB1 somehow, I'm going to try. But I don't think many people are buying it other than me. So for what I got him and where I'm at with him, I'm holding. I'm not moving yet.
I think it makes a lot of sense to hold. Yeah. I mean, you picked him up off the waiver wire and you just kind of ride this thing out. What he's doing is pretty remarkable considering the path he's taken. But like, some of the things that he's doing is unsustainable. I mean, he plays 23 of 76 snaps last week. He runs 12 routes. He gets 5 targets and 3 touchdowns, a touchdown on 25% of his past routes, which is crazy. He's RB3, to your point. If he has RB eligibility, he's RB3. Only Eckler and Henry have more fantasy points. He's wide receiver 4. Only Kupp, Hill, and Debo have more fantasy points. So no, he won't be able to keep this up. Career high 64 carries last season, 4 per game with Chicago, but he's given 6.7 carries per game this season with the Falcons. He had 25 targets last year with the Bears, which is the second fewest he's ever had. And now he has 22 targets. So it's clear there's more usage. Maybe his role can continue to grow. I get it. Ridley and Pitts owners are completely ticked off with what's happening here with Cordell Patterson, but you ride this thing out. I think you said it perfectly. If you have him as like a guy you could put in as an RB or wide receiver, I mean, that's great. He's a flex guy. I ranked him this week as a flex guy at RB, as a flex guy at wide receiver. It's an offense that's going to throw the football. He's certainly going to get some targets. But if you can package him for a top-end RB, it's unlikely. Could you get a Nick Chubb? I doubt it. Like, you'd have to package maybe 3 pieces for that, and you'd have to probably give up a really solid player on top of Cordell Patterson to do that. But just make him available. That's all I'm saying. Just make him available. He's playing
the Jets this week. So if you're going to do it, just wait one more week. Wait one more week, and then maybe you can get a Nick Chubb. Because the Jets, we're talking about the Jets here. Anything's possible.
Anything is possible. Yeah, there's 2 ways to look at that. If he flops against the Jets, that's it. Like, the buy low window could have just, the sell high window could have closed. But now it's like, hey, you got the Jets this week. It's so tough. I get it. Trading is really tough to do. It's tough to find a partner, especially when a guy like Patterson is rolling out and you're winning weeks with this guy just as your flex. Like, why would you move him? But again, just make him available. See what you could get. And I'd love to hear what you could get. I'd love to see some trades. He is the 12th most traded player in CBS leagues over the past 24 hours. I would just love to know, because he hasn't been dealt in any of my leagues. Like, he was made available in one of my dynasty leagues, and people laughed at the person making him available and said, you spent a tons of fab on him and it was like $17, and now you're trading him. I think that's smart, just to make him available and see what you can get. So you never know. You just never know what you can get. All right, let's talk some baseball. We'll bring in Broc Miller. We'll take a break. We'll talk Cardinals and Dodgers in here next on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney and producer Tino here with you. So unfortunately, we couldn't make it work here with Broc Miller. I was really looking forward to him coming on and just talking about his Los Angeles Dodgers and how they would cruise here today and go on to win another World Series. I don't know, Tino. Maybe he was scared. Maybe he's a little scared about tonight. You think? No, I mean, he's not. But unfortunately, we just couldn't.
I'd like to think Dodgers fans are scared. I mean, I'd hope that Dodgers fans kind of have the energy that Big John had. You know, the big evil empires of the Dodgers and the Yankees. It would be great to see them both fall in the wild card. And you know that's where we're on. So spoiler alert, we're rooting for that heavy on this side of things.
Yeah, so my apologies for pumping up Broc. He is a really sharp baseball mind over at FTN. And I love the Twitter handle from him, Broc Ness Monster. I mean, yeah, it doesn't get much better than that. So unfortunately, we couldn't link up, but you and I will talk out this game. So St. Louis here, plus 200. We got the Dodgers at minus 217, the total at 7.5. We got Scherzer 15-4 with a 2.46 ERA. Adam Wainwright getting the ball for the Cards, 17-7 with a 3.05 ERA. Max Scherzer with the Dodgers, 11 starts. These numbers are absolutely ridiculous. A 1.98 ERA, 0.82 whip, 89 strikeouts, and just 8 walks. His first 9 starts with the Dodgers, Tino, 7-0, a 0.78 ERA, 79 punchouts, and 7 walks in 58 innings. Opponents only hit 150 against him. He was roughed up over his last 2 outings, though. 17 hits, 10 runs, 3 homers, 5 in each runs, that is. He faced the Padres, and he had to go to Coors, so that stuff kind of happens to pitchers in Colorado. But, man, this guy's been awesome. He faced the Cardinals on September 6th, 8 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 13 strikeouts, and 0 walks. 1 or 0 runs in 7 of his 11 outings with the Dodgers, 0 runs in 6 of them, and 2 or fewer in 9 of the 11. As for Wainwright, the 40-year-old vet Man, he surprised me. Somebody offered me him in a season-long league, and I said, no chance. He can't keep this up. I wish I'd made that trade. A 3.78 ERA on the road, though, 2.74 at home. September 8th, he faced the Dodgers. 8 1/3, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, 1 homer, and 4 strikeouts. So he's not a big strikeout guy. I mean, his strikeout pitch is his curve, upper 80s with his sinker, mid 80s with his cutter. He can really kind of pinpoint that fastball. He's a contact guy. But more than 3 runs allowed in just 3 of his last 19 starts. So the Dodgers won the season series 4-3. They won 2 of 3 earlier in the year, outscored them 25-10, but this is a much different Cardinals team playing with a lot of confidence. They split the 4-game set in September, and Scherzer and Wainwright, as I mentioned, pitched in those games. Dude, I know the Dodgers are heavy favorites here, and everyone loves the Dodgers, and I get it. Like, I understand it. 106 wins, ties a franchise record. You and I have talked so much on this show before. Like, if they lose this game tonight, Major League Baseball will make adjustments to the playoffs. Like, they can't have a 106-win team not actually making the postseason here. But I can't back them. And it's not just being crazy. Like, it's not just saying, I hate the Dodgers. There's no value in backing them here today. And this Cardinals team has played so good over the past 6 weeks, man. Don't you think that they could win this game today? It's like, if I gave a 50, a percentage chance of winning, I would only give 65 to the Dodgers. Like, it's not crazy. It's a one game.
Well, it's baseball. Baseball shouldn't be played in a one-game playoff regardless. That's the problem. It should be changed either way, whether the Dodgers or the Yankees both get eliminated or not. But with that said, it's not crazy because you've seen this before in a ton of different sports. The hottest teams that come in, whether, in football, it's the wild card. I mean, I'm a Giant fan, so I've seen it plenty of times, but you see it in the NCAA tournament. Sometimes those dark horse teams, they're hot. They're clicking on all cylinders. And right now, for what it's worth, now I know Scherzer got touched up in Colorado, and who doesn't sometimes, and the Padres offense, which is more than competent, but he's looked human the last 2 starts. He's given up a ton of hits, and this Cards offense is finally clicking. That's the real – Wainwright's been pitching great, but this Cards offense, I think, is the difference. And I look to Paul Goldschmidt. I think, early on in this game, we'll get a very, very good feel on how things are going, because if there's a lot of hard contact early in this game, especially from these guys up at the top of the lineup, the heavy hitters, Arenado, Tyler O'Neill, I think it feeds into the Cardinals' favor, because I used to think they'd have to go small ball to get things done. And right now they've been relying on power. I mean, they hit for average too. So for what it's worth, Goldschmidt 300 hit at 294, 31 ribbies, 31 dingers, 99 ribbies. And then Tyler O'Neill, 34 home runs, 80 RBIs, 286 hitter. Where the heck did that come from? His OPS is 11th best in baseball at 912. So the Cardinals are scrappy. They don't play small ball as much as I thought they would have to going into the year, but they're a competent offense right now. They really are clicking. So, again, I think unfortunately that Max will probably be better than his last 2 starts, but that doesn't mean the Cards can't touch him up or work that pitch count high enough that you got to get to this inconsistent Dodgers bullpen, which is also ridiculous. Okay. The Dodgers bullpen is ridiculous as well, of course, but inconsistent. Kenley Jansen. Don't let people forget. Don't let people forget. He's still closing games.
Nobody forgets.
Closing games. Yeah. Yeah. That's what we got to bank on. I think the Cards got to win this late, to be honest with you. Obviously. I don't think the Dodgers will ever go away. There's no way the Cardinals are going to bury them. For us being on the 2-1 Cards here, just know it's going to be a grind. But, again, they work pitch count. Even with Max getting his strikeouts, which I think he will get. What'd you say? He had 13?
Yeah, he had 13. That's crazy. I think, 7.5 strikeouts for Max using our free prop shop at -102 at FanDuel. I think that's pretty good.
I take over.
Yeah. I think to take the over on that, he could get 8 or 9 punch outs in this game. He could go deep in the game too. You're right about the bullpen. I think they want him to go as deep as he can. He's got so much. Both of these guys have so much experience on the hill. They've been in these situations plenty of times before. Scherzer was phenomenal when the Nats won the World Series a couple years ago, and they acquired him. They could have went numerous ways with this one start. Walker Buehler it's crazy, right? But Scherzer, I think, gets those strikeouts. And what we know about Scherzer, it's not to the same point with Garrett Cole, but he allows bombs. He does allow bombs here and there. You and I were chatting. You like Goldschmidt, but we also both like Tyler O'Neill here. Plus 390 over at FanDuel to get a home run. 34 bombs in the season, 27 of those 34 against right-handed pitching. And he was great in September and October, had 13 homers and a 328 average. He hit 304 in August. yeah, you're right. Where did he come from? He went on this bit of a tear and then he suffered an injury and then he came back and he's just been a big part of what they've been able to do over the last month and a half, like winning 17 straight ball games. You're right. They are scrappy. And it's weird to say like, oh, back this team because they're scrappy. Like it's even just talking about that sounds ludicrous, but they have a lot of experience with Goldschmidt, with Arenado. Like these guys can get it done and get to Scherzer. I think we see a tight ball game. If I'm picking a side over under, I'm picking the under 7.5. I just can't back this Dodgers team. If you're not with us on the Cardinals, heck, we're taking all our money that we won yesterday on the Red Sox and the under and Schwarber, and you and I are putting it down on the Cards. And if you don't want to do that on the money line, heck, to take them on the run line at plus 1.5, minus 110, that's not bad either, Tino.
Yeah, no. And so what I'm doing right now, and I know we're on with Tyler O'Neill because DraftKings doesn't even offer me a straight up Tyler O'Neill home run. So we're going to take the Cards to win and O'Neill to hit a home run at 6-1 plus 600. I'm definitely on that. And I do wanted to tie some things together here because it's kind of how everything comes full circle. Albert Pujols revenge game, Meaney. I hope he gets a bat. I hope he gets a look at the plate because he went yard against the Cards in St. Louis in his first AB back with the team. So it's like, I would love to see that wrinkle. I'd love to see Pujols out there again because he'd definitely feel a type of way.
That would be so cool. We got to get out of here. I got a couple hockey targets. If Pujols plays tonight, he will become the first MLB player in history to hit 400 plus home runs with a franchise and then appear in a postseason game against them. Pretty cool, right? And he took them deep. He hit a home run this year against the Cardinals. And when he played for the Halos in his first game back against the Cardinals, it was, the interleague play, he went deep against them as well. Like that would be a pretty cool storyline if he was to be able to get in there as a pinch hitter and maybe go deep. Enjoy the game. We're both on the Cards here. It's not really Dodgers hate. We just have a lot of respect for the St. Louis team and what they've been able to do. I got a couple fantasy hockey targets on the way out. Don't go anywhere. Mean Streets continues here on Game Plus Network. Welcome back to Mean Streets here on Game Plus Network. I got a couple of fantasy football questions that filtered in a little bit later here towards the end of the show. Bambo says, do I do Keenan Allen and Zach Moss or Jamar Chase and Swift? Yeah, I'll do that. I would make that switch. If a full point PPR league, I like Swift more than Moss, and Chase is pretty close to Allen. And then Fields or Lance rest of the season, it's my guy, Trey Lance. No question about it. It is Trey Lance the rest of the year. Okay, here we go. On the way out here, a couple fantasy hockey targets. All of this stuff, of course, involved in part of our package. For the rest of the season, you get everything, all the hockey content. So a couple of targets here. I got Sam Bennett and Joel Eriksson X. So we mentioned Bennett yesterday, but I wanted to get into him just a little bit more because I wanted to hammer home the point that you should draft as many Florida Panthers as you can. You see the differences between the two with Calgary and with Florida. He averaged 3.8 shots and 3 hits per game over 15 contests with the Panthers. I mean, that's maybe unsustainable, but that's like over 300 shots and over 200 hits. I mean, if you're playing in a bangers league, that's absolutely valuable, but he's going to be getting top power play time. He's playing on the second line with Jonathan Huberdeau. Barkov's a great get. Sam Reinhart is a proven 20-goal scorer. I mean, he finished inside the top 10 in goals last year among centers. Sam Reinhart, he's got the center and right eligibility. He'll play on that top line with Barkov. Get yourself Owen Tippett, Aaron Ekblad, Spencer Knight, pair him up with Grabowski. Just get as many Florida Panthers as you can. Mackenzie Weegar in there as well. And then Joel Eriksson Ek of the Minnesota Wild. I like him as a target. I like him in bangers leagues as well as a guy who can contribute across the board, give you a few face-off wins if you need those face-off wins. And he's going to get an opportunity here to break out with the Minnesota Wild, playing on that top line with Kirill Kaprizov and then Matt Zuccarello. So for Joel Eriksson Ek, he was one of only 2 players last season to have at least 19 goals, 100 hits, and 100 shots. The other one, Chris Kreider. So this is a guy who is touching across every category. His ice time went from 15 to 17 minutes. I think he can get into the 18.5-minute mark and centering the #1 line with Kirill Kaprizov. More targets over at ftnfantasy.com. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. Enjoy the game tonight. Cardinals win and create chaos. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Cheers.